Hello, I'm Marinovska, the Russian comedian. Is anybody behind me? Because this is the Ego's Last Stand you're watching.
When I come around, got the whole thing wobbing.
And we're back for another episode of The Ego's Last Stand. I'm your host today, Josh Sardam. Brandy is on assignment. She's at home, sick, in bed, and we're all really depressed about that. But today, we have the amazing JP Sears in the house, man.
Hey, Josh.
How's it going?
I just checked it. It's going pretty well. You know, for a redhead, I think I'm holding it together pretty good.
That, for a redhead, I like how you brought that in, the fact that, no one notices that you're a redhead at all.
Yeah, that's why I like to play my discrepancy right in people's faces so they feel sorry for me right off the bat, and I get social status points for victimizing myself.
Sure.
For no reason.
We were talking about your shoes before we got on the air, and dude, I tell you what, I personally like them, and I believe in the theory behind it.
So yeah, the toe shoes.
Right.
I enjoy them too. Honestly, I've been wearing toe shoes for 12 years now. Typically when I exercise or I'm on planes or I don't want to be hit on by women. And yeah, I love them too. They make your feet way more functional. I think that affects the rest of your body, and
you don't get shin splints.
Absolutely.
Yeah, you usually don't get back pain or anything like that.
Yeah, it's pretty cool. And to be trendy, I think toe shoes are the tofu of footwear. So, for all the tofu lovers who like to pretend that plants are meat, they can do that with your feet now.
I absolutely love them myself, just because of the fact that when I used to wear them, running was just so much easier, and your feet are really light, and once you get used to them, and that was the big pain in the ass, so how long did it take you to get used to them?
So back when I started wearing them, they were horrendously uncomfortable. Like, you could be sitting down and they're just uncomfortable, like tighter on the Achilles heel. But once they got the recipe right, I think I was already used to them. But I'll say this, I'm not a runner. There's been maybe 3 times I've done sprints in the shoes, and one time they were uphill sprints. And I'm thinking, I've been using these for several years for my workouts, just walking around. Like an idiot, I just hauled off to my whole sprint workout in the toe shoes. The next day, the bottoms of my feet hurt so bad because using all those muscles and tendons in running in a way you never wear. I think what people don't realize, we're going to change the way people think today, Josh.
That's what we're doing.
If you wore mittens your whole life or boxing gloves,
sure,
your finger dexterity and strength of your hands would be so impaired. Well, that's what we do with our feet with regular shoes. But then you start wearing toe shoes, and it's very similar. Like, okay, now I've taken the boxing gloves off for the first time in 30 years. Your hands are weak, and as you learn to use them again, you hold something for 5 minutes, it'll make you really sore the next day. So
sure, thus
it happens with our feet.
Yeah, and we were never meant to run with shoes on. We just weren't. Yeah. We're not built that way as humans. And that TED Talk, have you seen that guy that does that TED Talk about that?
No, I don't watch intelligent things online.
Not at all, huh?
No. But is that the barefoot running guy?
Yeah.
What the hell's his name?
I can't remember it. He always brags about that the Indian lady that ran the Boston Marathon. He always talks about her, and I can't remember her name either, but it was very Indian. But it's brilliant when he that's what sold me on getting these shoes, because I was like, well, shit, okay, I guess I should try that. And it sucked the first 2 weeks.
Yeah.
God, it sucked.
And this guy, who shall remain nameless, because we're not smart enough to remember one man's name who has impacted our lives.
We'll probably get sued as well. How dare you mention my name?
But so correct me if I'm wrong. I don't believe he has ties to the toe shoe running companies, does he?
No, because he's really all about barefoot. Yeah.
Which is, I love that idea of his TED Talk, which I haven't seen, but I'm going to endorse it now because, ignorance is wonderful, and who cares? But I love the fact that you could rely on his TED Talk a little bit more, because there's no money to be made in bare feet.
Right.
Like, there's money to be lost in bare feet. You're not going to sell shoes, and I think he's got a book, so maybe he sells that, but... So I love the fact that, I'm out promoting bare feet, and there's literally no money to be made in that.
Well, from what I understand, though, he sells bandages, and so he's just...
Makes sense.
By the truckload. All right.
Yeah, here's the broken glass in the bottom of your feet bandage kit. And you buy 3, get the 4th one free. I think maybe Michael Jordan's to blame for the whole shoe phenomenon, because if it wasn't for him, wearing shoes wouldn't be cool.
No, that's true. I mean, we're throwing back to the '70s stuff now. I mean, all those what were those? The high top sneakers, those old school '70 ones. I refuse to go back to the '70s. I'm not wearing bell bottoms again. You can't make me. Okay, I'm just not doing it.
Yeah, you know what kind of makes me want to throw up in my mouth along those lines? Have you seen with the ladies, now it's in fashion wearing high-waisted jeans, high-waisted skirts?
If they're Latino, I'm all about it, because, wow. But as far as the like the average person doing it, I don't think they can pull it off. You got to have curves.
Well,
I mean, those ladies doing that, you got to have curves.
And I wouldn't argue with that. However, for me, no matter how curved you are, how in shape you are as a lady, you know, I grew up watching Steve Urkel, and I just can't get past women watch. Like, my wife bought some high-waisted skirts. She tried them on and said, "Doesn't this look good?" And I absolutely lied through my teeth. I said, "Oh yeah, you look great in them."
Very smart
but
man.
I'm seeing a white lady version of Steve Urkel, and that is not attractive to me.
No. Does she laugh like that too, or?
She doesn't. She looks like him though. She's actually a black man, but identifies as a white lady.
That's good. So, how long have you been married?
I've been married since June 2nd, 2018, so a little over a year.
Wow. All right. I've been married 18 years.
Wow.
Yeah.
All to the same person?
Yeah, and if you want to push me in front of a moving car when we go outside, I'm for that. That's fine.
Happy to help you out a little bit.
Make sure it's a big car. I don't want to limp away. You know.
So, well, that makes me curious. What would you say are the top, 1, 2, or 3 mistakes / learning points you've learned in 18 years of marriage, and what are the top 1 or 2 or 3 like must-have lessons?
The must-haves are definitely, you got to have communication. You got to talk to each other. You have to have that kind of love that just doesn't go away with an argument, because if you've got that fly-by-night love, you're fucked. You're not going anywhere in that relationship. You have to have staying power, longevity, and I'm not talking about sex. I'm talking about you've got to be able to just go through the highs and lows. You've got to be able to do that. The mistakes, all mine, and she knows it, because I have this affliction called being a guy. So we're dumb creatures. We really are, and we make such stupid mistakes, and we're simple to figure out though, and that's where the problems come in, because they're very complex. They're very harebrained and off the cuff, and I didn't mean harebrained. Well, fuck it, I meant harebrained.
Yeah, that's what you meant.
He's like a therapist. This is great.
Say more.
Say more. Just get it off your chest, Josh.
It's a safe space.
It's a safe space. Okay. I mean, they're very complex, and we're very simple. And I think that's where all the problems come in, because they want things without telling us they want things, and they do things that don't make any sense to us.
And with communication, because that's something at times I feel like a Zen master at it. At other times I feel like just like a jellyfish, whatever else I can say to make this horrible analogy make me sound like an idiot. Like I suck at communication at times. So I'm curious, like, what are your keys to good communication?
Honesty. And it doesn't matter if it's going to hurt her feelings or not. You got to be bluntly honest and just take the hit. You know, especially like, you screw up, just say you screwed up. There's so many guys out there that make it worse because they just, I can't admit I screwed up, or no, I don't want her to know. And just be honest. Take the damn hit. You know, it's like, be a grown up. You know, have a grown up conversation.
I highly endorse the honesty. I think you're a spineless douchebag if you're not.
Right.
How my area of communication I struggle with, and I think honestly this makes me dishonest at times. I struggle with being very honest with her when I'm upset, like when I'm angry. Especially angry at her, because I hate to say it, I have a fear of conflict. And my fear is if I get angry, like you did this, like I feel really upset, or you've been fucking neglecting this stuff. I've been having to pick up all the slack. My fear is she'll get angry at me for being angry. And at times when I've been angry, honest with my anger, of course that happens.
Yeah.
Not every time, but sometimes. And I am so spineless. Like, it scares me to death when my lady's angry at me.
So take a breath, calm yourself down, and then once you're calm, go in there and say it in the most direct adult way you can say it. Because that's what I was blessed with having some really good leaders in my life. You know, through the military and law enforcement, I've had some people that I had a major that was pissed at me, and I'm talking, he was heated because I spoke way out of turn. I shouldn't have said things I said in a very critical situation, and he waited probably 2 hours to talk to me. And then I was on post. He walked over to me. He goes, "Hey man, let me talk to you for a second." "Sure, sir." You know, we walk outside, and he looked at me, and he just put it very frank to me, but it was done in such an adult, impressive way that it stuck with me for the rest of my life. So anytime I'm in a situation where I need to say something that they're not going to like, I calm down first, then I go in there and I approach it the exact same way he did, because it was brilliant. And it got the point across, and I was like, holy shit, okay, I'll never do that again.
I like that. I think a lot of times and I'll own it, I have had childish examples of anger modeled in my life where things get temperamental, there's a lot of blaming, hyperbole, piling on, and it's just like this illogical circle that will end in nothing but destruction if you take it to the nth degree.
Sure.
But that approach it like an adult kind of thing.
I don't know how any way to say it other than that way.
No, I think it sounds very wise, and I think anger, it's an inherently a messy, intense emotional state to be in. And I'd imagine it's kind of like, you know, I've never been in battle. I mentioned before we got on air, I won't even play Frisbee. I'm that scared of confrontation. But I'd imagine if you go into battle, it's obviously like the most intense scenario I could ever imagine. But if you approach it like an adult rather than a hysterical child, you're probably going to be much more effective than that scenario, and therefore in a much smaller situation like anger with your spouse.
I mean, I'd rather be in combat than get in an argument with my wife. So just say
it's probably safer.
It's totally safer. You know, it's listening without defending and speaking without offending. You know, you try and say things without offending them, and you try and listen without defending yourself. You know, and it's hard. Very hard.
That big one, a wise mentor of mine in my early 20s, he said one of the biggest gifts you can give your partner, and it's so intimate, is allowing them to be upset without you being defended.
Right.
And that's so hard. It's like such a check of your ego.
It is.
Yeah.
You got to put it on the floor and just step on it and say, stay there for a second.
Yeah. But otherwise, the other person, they're never going to be heard. The more we defend, the less we hear them. It's kind of like the more you say, the less I'm hearing, because I'm just in a needy state. I need to be heard. Here's my defense, and you know, taking things so personally. But you're not giving them the gift of being heard, so nothing ever diffuses. But I find with my lady, when I fuck it up plenty of times, but at times when I can actually be in that good state, okay, I'll be undefended. I'll hear her. I won't defend. I'll just hold the space for her, and the energy discharges quicker that way, for sure.
Absolutely. Yeah. Switch gears a little bit. Vegans.
Yeah.
How do you feel about them?
Vegans, you know, I used to be a vegan. Now I identify as a Caucasian. And, you know, I think vegans are cool. Personally, I eat a strict vegan diet.
Do you?
And I eat a meat-eating diet simultaneously.
Right.
You know, multitasking. And,
you know, it's brilliant, actually, if you think about it.
Yeah.
I don't know if I'm the originator of it, but I'm a proponent of vegan suck. It's a hashtag. Everything I've watched of your stuff, I mean, you're always very, like, you make fun of, but you do it in such a nice way. Yeah. Like, it's very gentle. And I said to our engineer, I said, hey, I wonder how he'll feel about my hashtag because I'm always saying flat earth people suck and vegans suck. I don't like either one of those groups.
You don't think the earth is flat? No, you know, I don't think, you know, to me, vegans, my wife is a vegan.
Is she?
And, there are vegans who are hysterical and crazy. There are meat eaters who are hysterical and crazy.
Right.
When I make videos about vegans or comedy about anybody, really what I'm doing is trying to shine the light of awareness on the dysfunctional ego that tries to hide behind this noble-looking hiding spot.
Right.
Like, oh, you're being an asshole. No, I'm being a vegan.
Right.
Oh, you're being kind of saying, no, I'm being religious. That's what. No, you are an asshole. Quit hiding your assholeness behind this noble-looking trump card.
Right.
And like, then do something about it. So, I think we're all full of shit. We're all assholes. We all have an ego. And I think when we can be aware of how our ego is getting its needs met, where we tear others down and we have this insatiable need for significance, when we can become aware of it, we can check it. But when we're blind to it because we hide it from ourselves behind, like, I'm a vegan or I'm a CrossFitter or I'm like,
right,
then it runs out of control. Everybody but us knows it.
That's totally true. We're going to talk more about this. We got to take a commercial break real quick. So, guys, we'll be right back with JP.
First-rate comedy, we're second to none. The comics are waiting, so join in the fun. 2 decades of moral decay. Comedy on Broadway.
What's up, Kentucky? This is Rex Chapman. I've struggled with addiction in the past. Today, I'm often asked where someone can turn for help. Bridgeway Institute Kentucky offers NAD Plus IV therapy to end addiction without horrible withdrawals. I've used NAD Plus. NAD Plus is a revolutionary treatment that helps heal the brain-destroying disease of addiction. If you or a loved one is struggling with addiction, visit Bridgeway Institute at bridgewaywellnessgroup.com. You might just be the one to save a life. That's bridgewaywellnessgroup.com.
And we're back. Man, I tell you what, I absolutely love this club, and that commercial was awesome. So, anyway, we were talking about vegans suck. First off, let me qualify this. I don't think your wife sucks. I think those people suck.
I was on the verge of fighting you. Yeah, that's right.
The people that you were talking about, they're hiding behind. You can't have a conversation with them without them mentioning 5 or 6 times that they're a vegan, and it drives me insane. And those are the people I'm talking about. The ones that just are always in your face, going, I'm a vegan, so I don't touch the meat. And you're probably single too.
As a vegan, I don't like to destroy the planet, so it's fun that you do. Yeah, I think we lose ourselves anytime we self-identify with anything that we're not. When we become self-identified with the food religion of veganism, food religion of keto, carnivorism, a religious religion, when we become self-identified with our job, we're losing ourselves. And that, according to my delusional point of view, means now we're willing to die for the cause because we're identified with it. We think we are the cause. That's when someone is willing to die for a false belief that they believe.
Sure.
But I think people get much more empowered when they, like, if they're a vegan or whatever the hell they are, if they view that as a philosophy, not an identity. Like, oh, the way I eat is veganism, rather than I am a vegan.
Right. Yeah, totally.
It's way different. Otherwise, like, you're not a vegan, and that inherently threatens the vegan's identity because I have to make you wrong. Otherwise, if you're right the way you are,
I'm wrong.
Then I'm inherently, there's something wrong with my self-construct. And of course there's something wrong with the self-construct. Who you are isn't vegan. It's like some cool mystical soul that's beyond veganism.
I think you just described why every war ever in history has been started. Seriously, because that is literally, this is my country. I'm from this country. You're from that country. Well, we think we're right. Well, no, you think you're right? Well, we have to go to war now. I mean, that's everything.
Absolutely. And religious wars, and I think even, I don't know anything about anything when it comes to world politics, yet I've heard some people hypothesize like the U.S. has been starting wars over oil, and I think even that we could take it to the nth degree and be like, all right, some like Dick Cheney slimeball is so self-identified with money that he's willing to create wars in order for his, his artillery companies that he's tied to get more money because he thinks he is money. So he's willing to sacrifice human life and well-being.
So you saw those reports?
I did. I just read them this morning. I wrote those reports.
I wrote them. Religious things are very much the same way. I was born Jewish, raised Catholic, and which is very unique all by itself. But a comic friend of mine, he always talks about how Jews always will say they're Jewish in every sentence. They'll always come out and start talking about it. And we were in a conversation. Some guy walked up and he started talking about Hitler. And I said, well, it's a funny thing to mention in front of a Jew. And my buddy goes, see, look, you just did it. I said, no, I bring up I'm a Jew when somebody starts talking about Hitler. All right, there's a difference in what I'm doing, okay?
Yeah, man, that's heavy. Speaking of Hitler, I don't agree with all his philosophies.
Hell of a painter.
Now, allegedly, he was a vegetarian.
That's true.
And I think that's where he went wrong. I think if he was a full-on vegan, then he would have been much more balanced, and none of this would have happened. Obviously,
the fact of the matter is that you can't drink that much petrol, thinking that it's just decomposing plant life. You can't do that. You can't.
Yeah.
But he did strike the match, so that's good.
Yeah, he had a belief.
Do you believe that in any internet conversation?
Yes.
The minute Hitler is mentioned, you know what I'm talking about? The minute Hitler is mentioned, the thread, big argument threads, there's something that's out there that says the minute Hitler is brought up, it kills the thread.
Oh, I would think so.
It's kind of where are you going to go from there?
Yeah. I mean, it really does. I mean, I'm sure it's appropriate sometimes, but
sure.
Maybe similarly how in our social justice warrior culture, someone does something that someone else doesn't like, and you just, well, you're Nazi. Well, you're not being logical. So we can't have any further conversation. You're not using your prefrontal cortex. You have this fiery emotional charge in your gut. Instead of dealing with it, you do this trump card thing, but it's not really a trump card. It just is in their mind.
Sure.
You're a Nazi. Well, I can't address that logically because I don't think it's a statement that comes from your logic. So we're speaking different languages, even though they're both being formed in English.
You just described everything that's wrong with social media right now.
The fact that it exists is a big part of what's wrong with it.
And people think that social media is just everything on there's fact. And everything on, everybody thinks that way. And the fact of the matter is social media makes up a very small part of our population. I mean, very small. And
yet it takes up a large percentage of our attention. I think that's the delusion.
Yeah. And I mean, some of us, they feel that the way that everybody in their group or social circles on their groups, if that's the way everybody's thinking, it's like this mob mentality on there.
Yeah.
And the minute someone disagrees with them, they block them and ban them because I don't have to listen to them anymore. And it's just, how is that solving anything? No wonder nobody has the ability to debate things anymore. Yeah. They feel because someone disagrees with them that, well, we're arguing now and you're not my enemy. Yeah. And everything you just talked about comes into play. And it's ridiculous. Nobody has the ability to just have a conversation anymore. And you can agree to disagree. There's nothing wrong with that.
100%. I think the fine art of human connection is lost when we're not willing to accept each other in spite of disagreement.
Right.
I think it takes a lot of courage, and it takes a big, beautiful, loving heart to be able to say, oh, we completely disagree on this politics or whatever, and I accept you.
Yeah.
I don't need to change you to make you other than the way you are. Yet, when we have a closed heart, when we hate ourselves and project that out on other people, we cut people off for disagreement. We don't accept them because I think there's a lot of us we don't accept.
Sure.
Like how we treat each other on the outside, oh, fuck you, you disagree with me, you're not the way I think you should be.
Right.
We only do that because we do that to so much of our inner real estate. So we allow ourselves to be a little fraction of what we actually are, and we fucking hate the rest of ourselves because we don't have an open heart. We don't do anything about it, so we just treat the rest of the world the way we treat ourselves on the inside. That's a delusional opinion on my part, but I firmly believe what I just said. And I will fucking kill anybody who disagrees with me on that.
Put the gun down. Put the gun down.
And, I think we're going to learn it. I think we're in the process of learning it, which is, I think social media is inherently a means with which to communicate each other. I think it's a great publishing platform, but much like a book, classic publishing, it's not two-way communication. It's
Right.
it's like, here is a statement, and awesome, that's what it is.
Right.
But we pretend social media is something more than just publishing ideas. We pretend that it's a form of communication, but I think it holds like 1% of the communication potential that a conversation like this
Sure.
does, or sitting down with someone.
When was the last time you were able to successfully decipher exactly how someone meant something the way they typed it? I mean,
In my mind, every time.
right.
What are you talking about,
I mean,
Josh?
it's ridiculous. I mean, because you can't be sarcastic on there or angry on. I mean, you got to pick everything in caps. Oh,
Yeah.
you're angry now. No, my cap lock was stuck. I mean, it's just there's no way to effectively communicate on social media. You just can't do it.
100%. There's times where people ask me, like, how do you deal with negative comments? And, like, step one is don't read them. And step two is, if you happen to read them, don't engage. People are like, well, they're accusing me of this and this. I've shared, and I firmly believe this, I don't think anybody's mind has ever been changed about anything in the comment thread on social media.
You're
Twitter, Facebook, YouTube, never happened. But we approach it as though it happens all the time.
I actually gained a friend because of the way I responded to a statement that this person did. This woman named Angie. She's all over social media. Her page is called Questionable Thoughts with Angie. She's hysterical. She's a cancer survivor. She got divorced, and she basically just said, you know what? Fuck the dumb shit. I'm just going to speak my mind. And I love her. I love her because of that. Well, I have a quote on my Facebook page. It's find something you love and let it kill you.
Oh, wow.
And well, it's God, Angie, I'm sorry, I can't remember the damn name of the guy that said it. But I just had the quote there. I didn't put who said it, and
Yeah.
so she immediately gunned in and said, "That's so and so," and blah blah blah. And you're like, she just went off on this paragraph about how I'm plagiarizing and blah blah blah. Like, just went nuts on me. And
I love that.
my response was, I'm only saying this because I care. There are a lot of decaffeinated brands on the market that are just as tasty as the real thing. It's like, Jesus Christ, lady. I was like, I'll fix it. And she was like,
Yeah.
you know what, I unfriended you, but I'm going to friend you back. That was funny. I was like, okay, thank you.
I love that.
It's like, good Lord, calm down.
Well, that's a good quote. And also, I mean, obviously you're in the comedy world. Like, in a way, I get where Angie was coming
Sure.
from. Like, granted, like, you can probably be a little less caffeinated about it. But, much like, probably the biggest sin you and I know of is if a comedian steals one of your jokes. Like,
Right.
it's just the least soulful thing you can do. And,
Right.
I think quotes, there's some people that will pass a quote off as their own. Like, here's my name at the bottom. Like, that is just
Sure.
slimy as hell. But I share quotes all the time where I don't know who said this. It fucking wasn't me, but
Right.
here it is.
Yeah,
Do you know who the comedian Nicole Arbor is?
I do not.
She's a dear friend of mine. She's got, millions of online followers. She makes all kinds of wonderful viral videos. She's got her roots in stand-up. Super funny, super smart lady. Then, before I go on with this story, just to make it a shitty story, let me interrupt this story. Do you know who another guy is named Jay Shetty?
Yes, I know, Jay.
Okay, so Jay Shetty, like an inspirational guy, like you talk with a light tone of voice and like, change your life. So, you got to watch this video. It's
Okay.
like a 7 or 8 minute video where Nicole Arbor called Jay Shetty out for stealing all these jokes or quotes. Where she must have took hours into this video to create it, but she has these Tony Robbins quotes, these Paulo Coelho quotes, like dozens and dozens of them, and then she shows the same quote showing up on Jay Shetty's Twitter, Instagram with his name under the quote. So she called him out, and then she analogized him to Carlos Mencia when Joe Rogan called him out for
Amy
stealing
Schumer.
jokes. It's not that. I mean, we don't say bad things about Amy Schumer because she's powerful. Like, she
She
might
is.
do things that.
The White Witch.
But joke thief. That's fine.
But
But it was such a powerful thing where she was standing up for like the creative soul of people.
yeah,
And like this guy, like I don't want to say anything bad about him, but here I go. Here's this guy, an inspirational leader, millions of followers,
Sure.
and standing for authenticity and doing one of the least authentic things you can possibly do. So
Yeah.
I've got a little charge around, like, thievery of other people's art.
Yeah.
Again, I like what you do. Like, I fucking do that all the time.
Sure.
To me, that's not deliberate thievery. It's
Right. No. I mean, especially if it's not deliberate. I mean, people make mistakes. Everybody's premises. They said there's only 7 real premises out there.
Is it? Yeah.
I mean, you're gonna bump into other people's sets.
Yeah.
But it's when you're verbatim saying it that's when there's an issue.
100%.
And when I was 9 years old, I did Bill Cosby's entire set in front of my family. I did. 9 years old in front of 45 people.
Did you date rape your mom too?
She said no. So.
Well, that's kind of part of the equation. You just plow through that.
That's
now,
where I went
don't
wrong.
you?
Is that where I went wrong?
Yeah, I think
I
according
just had a little throw up come in my mouth. Is that normal? Because
you are not a good Bill Cosby plagiarist, Josh. You're a
well,
terrible Bill Cosby.
I was 9. So. He's one of the reasons why I started doing comedy, man. Yeah, him and Richard Pryor and Eddie Murphy. I mean, those guys were my idols growing up.
Delirious was
Oh my
the very
God.
first comedy special I've
Yeah.
ever seen. That I remember seeing. It was so amazing.
I walked in on my dad and my brother watching Richard Pryor, and like they scooted me out of the room really fast. So because I mean, motherfucker was coming out of his mouth fast, and they were like, "Get Josh out of the damn room."
Yeah, it's like the Scarface of comedy.
Yeah, and I don't remember what happened after that because I said, "Why the motherfucking kid?" And then I got knocked out. So, but
I love it.
it's too funny. Oh, beautiful. Well, we're right at the end of our free content, which is awesome, and we're going to move forward with our bonus stuff. But all you guys out there, if you like everything you heard so far, you want to hear more JP and I banter back and forth with our verbal dueling here, please, by all means, check out our Patreon. And if you're not a patron yet, why the hell not? We're talking 8 quarters. 8 quarters. And JP is having so much trouble with that spot filter. But you guys, we love the fact that you come out here and you watch us. Please, by all means, follow this guy. Where can they find information about you online?
Yeah, all my social media is Awaken with JP. So follow me on Instagram, YouTube, Facebook, all the places.
All the places, all the social stuff. Here's where Brandy would have come up with something hysterically funny. Like one time, one of our guests said, "Hey, you can find me on all the normal spaces," and she went, "Yeah, like Scruff and Grinder," and she was like naming all this. I think it was Matt Holt. Me and Matt Holt were like, "The hell is Scruff?" She goes, "Oh, you don't know." And then we're like, all right, let's wait for the bonus stuff. Let's wait. Love Brandy. Brandy, we love you so much, honey. Hope you feel better. And guys, for JP Sears, I'm Josh Sardam. We'll see you guys later. And we're back for our bonus stuff. Man,
Yes.
I swear that last stuff was just amazing. And now we're going to get into the real gritty stuff. So this black... No, I'm just kidding.
It feels like what we're about to say is worth paying for, right?
We were hanging out with Elliot Chang one weekend, and we went into the bonus stuff, and he immediately goes, "Yeah, so this black guy walks into..." And then he goes, "I'm just kidding, guys." And we were just like, okay, because we thought, like, we had the wrong guy for a second. He's like do you know Elliot or know of him?
I don't, actually.
He's one of the nicest damn guys. We did shows with him out at the Caravan in Louisville, and talking about one of the nicest headliners I've ever worked with. I mean, he was so laid back. So it's like, sometimes you work with a headliner, you're like, "Hey, do you mind if I sell merch?" "No, I'd rather you didn't." How much time you want me to do? How much time can you do? You get like... You get all kinds of
sending pricks.
Oh
is
yeah,
what you're saying.
And you're just like, I'm sorry, master. I'll go back in the corner. So being in the middle or an MC, I mean, you got to basically do what the headliner wants. And this guy, he just was amazing. So
super cool.
Yeah, so cool. So you get to see kind of fun stuff like that.
Yeah.
Who really fun have you worked with recently?
Do you know a comedian from New York named Sean Murphy?
I do.
Sean is amazing. So last year I worked with him in St. Louis. He featured for me, and just staying in touch with them. I've started bringing him on the road with me at
Awesome.
times. So I brought him to Cleveland when I did Hilarities there, and then I just did a little desert leg of the tour, Phoenix, Tucson, Flagstaff. Brought him
Nice.
out to open for me, and Yeah, so Sean's been great. And, one of the things I love about rocking up to a new city is meeting these brilliant comedians. I feel so humbled, like, wow, you're opening or you're featuring for me. Like, wow, that's like, oh, this is amazing. There's so many. And, like, one of my favorites he's from Raleigh, North Carolina, Mike Mello Miller. Did you by chance know of him?
I don't know Mike.
He is just a rock star. He deserves to have 30 specials on Netflix. And, the name of the game we live in 2019, apparently, or part of the game, is you have your social media following. And Mike doesn't. But his comedy is just as good as it can get. So
nice.
Mike Mello Miller, if you're, ever cross paths with him, like drink him in, like in a very homosexual way.
In a homosexual way?
Yeah, and check out his comedy too.
Oh, okay. All right. Well, Grinder, I guess, is you.
I think that's where Brandy would want us to look.
She would definitely want us to look there. And that's a different thing as well from other headlines. Like if you kill really hard, there are some headliners that'll just be like, okay, it's the last time we're working together.
Well, Sean had mentioned, I won't name the headliner's name, but he was doing a weekend with this headliner, and over the course of the Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sean's feature sets kept getting shorter and shorter and shorter. He's supposed to be doing 25 minutes,
right.
And then the second night, it's like, hey, can you do just 15? Then the third night, it's like, hey, just do a 10 or 11, and it's like, oh, you're insecure.
Yeah, my theory on this, and this is just my theory, and it's probably bullshit, but I think you want everyone to kill really hard.
100%.
You want the roof to fall off the place and catch fire.
100%.
You want everybody leaving with their stomachs hurting, their mouths hurting, and they're like, holy shit, that was such a great show. And they're going to talk about everybody, and especially they're going to talk about the headliners. That's who they came there to see.
Dude, it walking on when I'm headlining and the feature is just killed, that is such a gift for you. Like, you get to ride that momentum. And there's been times when I've been in the green room and I feel insecure right now. He's killing, but I'll do this self-talk this is a good thing.
Yeah.
It's okay to feel insecure, cool.
Yeah.
But this is nothing but a good thing. And then I think
Absolutely.
long term, it up-levels you.
Yeah.
Because you learn, you're like, okay, now I'm inspired. I fucking got to bring it. I got to really be in the moment, connect with these people, and then, refine my comedy, improve. So, yeah, I think, otherwise it's just a poverty mentality, and everybody loses with that.
A lot of people don't understand, a headliner has to work through the check drop. They have to work through, people dealing with, the food that they have or reordering their drinks. And, the chunk of the show is on the headline, and they have to kill.
Yeah.
The MC doesn't. The feature certainly doesn't. But the headliner has to kill. All the pressure's on the headliner. So the easier you make that person's job, God, if you have the energy, your feature just brings the energy way the hell up to the ceiling. You get on the stage, you clear your throat, they're laughing, and you haven't even done a joke yet. That's how you know it's gonna I do a certain thing when I hit the stage. I come up to an AC/DC song. It's A Long Way to the Top, because I just love that
AC/DC. I've never heard of them.
Oh, never heard. Okay. They suck. Anyway, so I'll come up and I'll just do this to cut the music. And I do this, and if I get laughs, it's like, oh, yeah, this is going to be good.
Yeah.
It's like a little tester in the water, and it's funny. I'll go like this, and they laugh, and it's like, okay, cool. All right.
I love that. And, what a gift, whoever, warmed the crowd up. Wow, you have an audience that inherently already likes you, even though you don't deserve it. But, that's the gift that the feature
right.
did. And then, even though it can be sometimes insecure going on right after someone that killed, the only thing that's worse is going on right after someone who bombed, wasted everybody's time. And, it doesn't happen that often, but once in a while there will be an MC who's like, how the fuck do you get this job?
Yeah. There are some clubs that are murderous on MCs. It doesn't matter who the MC. I've had guys that I know are straight assassins on that stage be an MC, and just it's crickets. And they get off the stage like, the fuck did I do wrong? And then I get on, or another feature gets on, and this kills, and he's like, what the hell's going on? There's clubs like that out there where they just don't like the MC or they're just not paying attention. Well, the MC's job is to get them focused, let them to get their first drink order. I mean, that's their job.
Yeah.
You know, to be really funny, it's great if you are and if you get them laughing. But I mean, at the end of the day, if you can focus them for the feature, great. I mean, we all got our jobs.
Yeah.
But yeah, you can do a show where it's MC kills it, feature kills it, then you jump on the stage and it's like, I'm here.
Yeah. Dude, I have to tell you about my worst experience ever.
Oh, I gotta hear this.
So, I don't know, a few months ago I was doing a California tour, and I was in like Central California, or going to be in Central California, and this offer came in to go do a show in Hayfork, California. And so it's a small town in the mountains, like a lot of weed growing around, like people there are like, they're real. So cool, go in, and the venue was like this bar, but they had the seating set up well, sold out crowd, awesome. So when I got there half hour before the show, I was meeting with the owner, and he said, well, I'm going to open for you. Now, mind you, this is not a comedy club. And the owner has never done comedy.
Oh boy!
And I said, "Okay, how long are you doing?" And he said, "I'm going to do 20 minutes."
What the?
So, and I'm like, I want to be power to the people. Plus, he's the owner. Like, I always want to encourage people. Like, if you've never done stand up, like, try it. I have friends like they're not trying to be comedians, but like as personal growth. Like, friend messaged me last week, like, JP, I did a 2-minute open mic set. It's such a win. Like, it's amazing. But I don't really want you to do that before I go on. Right. But what can I say? I'm not going to tell the guy, like, no, I don't need an opener. Let me just go on.
Right.
Hindsight, I would have said that. So he said, and I've got a costume, so I'm going to go change into it.
The fuck?
So,
and then tell me you woke up, because this sounds like a nightmare.
Not yet. I hope to wake up from this dream soon. So it turns out what he did, he had this costume on. You couldn't see his face, like some goofy costume. He goes on, and it's not stand-up comedy. I don't know what it is. He got a few, like, kind of pity laughs, the first minute where people are like, all right, cool, we're here to laugh. Like, cool, let's go. And then by like 3 minutes, people were just angry. Their time's being wasted. 15 minutes. Holy fuck.
Shit.
And I'm at 4 minutes, I'm thinking like, all right, this guy's just going to hit the eject button. He went the full 20 minutes. Left the stage, didn't even introduce me.
Holy shit.
So I come out, and I had to break the tension. I had to acknowledge it, but I didn't want to be mean or shaming, so I just said something like, well, that 20 minutes went fast, didn't it? And then just on. So people laughed, broke the tension a little bit. Now, after this show, and I want to leave this guy nameless. Like, he's inherently a great guy. They don't do comedy at the club. He didn't know, like, this is, like, the worst thing you could possibly do.
Sure.
So after the show, his mom said, it's so-and-so, he went home because he drank a lot after he came off stage because he felt like it didn't go well and people were angry at him. I'm like, yeah, I get that.
Yeah.
And then a couple minutes later, the sound guy, he was just laughing about it, like probably hated his boss. He's like, yeah, he did that whole thing on a recording. So when he was up there, he had a mask on, so he wasn't even talking. He was just at the mic acting like he was talking, but his whole quote-unquote routine was via a recording, and that's got to be one of the reasons why he couldn't hit the eject button. So you just got to imagine this poor bastard in this costume prison for 20 fucking minutes. I mean, this is going horribly. He just obviously wanted to run out, but he couldn't because it was all being lip-synced.
Wow.
And so that, I can't imagine a deeper hole that one has to dig out of.
I think that tops everything. I'm going through. I can't think of anything that would be worse than that.
Man, I mean, this was California
I mean,
weed country. You'd have to go to meth country to get like a worse opening experience, I guess.
I mean, aside from guy just like openly taking a dump on the stage before you got there. I don't think there'd be any way somebody could shit the bed worse than that. That's just wow.
It was not
And
exciting.
you went on stage and killed though.
Well, I mean, yeah, it went well, and I mean, I went on stage. I was angry. I was. It's like, you know, these I'm headlining. These people came out to see me, and you're, you know, in doing over an hour of comedy. Inherently, it's a tough job, even though I love it. So you're making my tough job, high pressure job, fucking harder for me. So I was angry, yet, you know, I had to do some quick self-talk. Like, these people are here to see me. I want to give them my absolute best. I don't want to just be angry and resentful, not at them, but at this owner. So, yeah, I gave them a good show, and
you believe
ended up going well.
You believe in that self-talk.
I do. You know, before I go on stage, any show, I'm doing self-talk.
I do the same thing.
And I'm curious, like, what's the gist of your self-talk?
Okay, I am all about saying I am the funniest guy in this room. I'm going to go on that stage. We're going to give these people a good time. It's going to be funny. And, like, I'm saying all this in my head, and I pep myself up.
Yeah. And
one of my mentors, actually, he said, this is what I do. He goes, you're welcome to do it, too. And I was like, okay, I'm going to do it, too.
I love that.
And it like, I don't really get nerves anymore, I guess. I guess sometimes I do, but like the minute I hit the stage, everything's fine. Yeah. Which is like, I don't know. I mean, I don't know if that's normal, but I mean, I care. Because people say, well, if you don't have nerves, you don't care. No, I care.
You're sociopathic.
Right.
You care about the... Yeah, in similar, you know, and I love that self-talk. To me, it makes a difference.
I think it does.
And I'm always telling myself, don't compare myself to other comedians that I have in my head. Don't compare. Don't worry what people are thinking. Connect.
Yeah.
Connect. And that's what's most important to me, because, you know, you can get in your head, and actually, especially if maybe trying some new material, so it can be heady. So for me, it's always important, like, but this is, first and foremost, this is an art of connection. These people are here live, and once in a while, I'll forget to do the self-talk, and I'll come off stage, and usually things felt like, you know, 15 degrees off. It's like, wow, I forgot to do the self-talk. I was a little too in my head.
Yeah, that's pretty awesome. I like that. Aliens, you believe in them?
Yes.
Okay. Bigfoot?
No.
Okay. All right. Well, you know, we had to get those things out of the way.
Yeah. And what about you?
I totally believe that we are not alone. I think it's ridiculous to I mean, what a bunch. I mean, we say, every time I ask this question, I say the same statement. If we are by ourselves, then that is a hell of a lot of wasted space up there.
It is. And, you know, though I don't know the absolute truth of anything, and nothing I've ever said in my entire life has been scientifically validated, so keep that in mind. Yet to believe we're the only ones, like we're so special that we're the only ones, like how narcissistic could we get?
Incredibly narcissistic. And Dr. What's his name? The Tyson.
Yeah, Neil deGrasse Tyson.
Neil deGrasse Tyson. He said life is inevitable, and he is the what the hell was the guy from the 70s?
Carl Sagan.
He's the Carl Sagan of our era.
He is.
I mean, he's brilliant, and Carl Sagan taught him.
Oh, did he? I didn't know that.
Matter of fact, when he was going to like as a high school student, going out to see the different colleges, he went to Dr. Sagan's college and actually met Dr. Sagan, and he gave him the tour of the campus. Well, it ended up being a really rainy, snowy night, and, you know, when he dropped off at the bus stop to go home, and Dr. Sagan gave him his phone number and his address. He says, if the bus doesn't come or if you just don't feel safe, he goes, you can stay at my house tonight.
Oh, wow.
I mean, and just gave him a letter, you know, of recommendation to his high school saying, yeah, we really would like this guy. And can you imagine Carl Sagan, you get a letter from him to go, I mean, but that's why Neil's like amazingly smart now, because he followed that man's footsteps.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
I don't agree with calling astronomers doctors. I think only like the doctors should be doctor. Like, I get it. Neil deGrasse Tyson, he's 4,000 times smarter than me and anybody else. He's probably smarter than doctors. But he and Dr. Sagan, like, come on, y'all aren't doctors. Like, you're smart. That's great. Like, if you want to be like Sir Albert Neil deGrasse Tyson, I'll call you that. But I don't
I agree with what you're saying to a point. I think the doctor thing is valid mainly because you're a doctor of something other than medicine. But for me, PhD always stood for piled higher and deeper.
Agree. I agree.
Yeah. Any final thoughts, man?
Yes. The proof that aliens are out there is here we are.
Yeah.
Because what if, there's other civilizations out there saying, like, are there aliens out there? And we are the evidence to them that there's aliens. So let's look no further.
I mean, we are made of stardust. And that's what Niels always says. He says, we're made of stardust. Life is inevitable. Yeah. It would happen on here no matter what. You can blow us up. You can blow the whole planet up, and 100,000 years or wherever it would take for the Earth will recover, and life will happen again. Yeah. And it's probably happened a bunch of times already. We've probably blown ourselves up in the past. I mean, there's so many things. I bet you Mars was inhabited at one point in time in the history of the solar system. And
when you think about infinity, which is obviously, I think, the one thing we inherently can't think about. It's beyond comprehension. The faculty of our mind, like the faculty of anything, it has its inherent limitations. Like a car can only do so much. I think the mind can only do so much. And granted, it's a brilliant faculty.
Sure.
But if you think about infinity, like how many times has the Big Bang, expansion, then eventual contraction, then another Big Bang happen? Sure. We said, well, the universe is like 5 billion years old or whatever it is. Yeah, in this current cycle of exhalation.
Sure.
And then there's going to be the inhalation. So, like we matter so much, and the paradox is we're so insignificant.
Right.
We're a speck of dust.
We are the small blue dot.
Dude, and it doesn't even look blue unless you're super close.
Right. Because you saw that picture where Carl Sagan was talking about the small blue dot. Yeah. It was on off one of the rings of Saturn, like the Viking or whatever it was took a picture back.
Cool.
And you couldn't tell it was blue. We just knew that was Earth, and it was like, it might have been something on the screen. I mean, we don't know.
Clean the screen. But the last thing I would say, I love to invite people to do something uncomfortable that feels purposeful. I think that's a recipe for true happiness, not gratification, but true happiness and fulfillment. Yeah. I don't think the good things in life are found within our comfort zone. I think we like to be comfortable because it makes us feel safe, but our comfort zone soon becomes our coffin. So I think a willingness to feel scared but do things anyway, a willingness to feel uncomfortable is the recipe to have a great life. And, I know a lot of the great things in my life, my wife, my career, and I know some of the things in your life, the greatest things wouldn't be there unless you got uncomfortable.
Totally true.
Stand-up comedy, a love of yours, like, how uncomfortable was that the first time?
Very. Oh, yeah. Absolutely. And that's profound.
Oh,
that
thank you.
Yeah, that's good. I like that.
Thank you.
That's awesome, man.
I now identify as Dr. Sears.
There you go. You had to get rid of Roebuck first, but then everything
that
happened.
Didn't work out too well.
Didn't work out. No. That's awesome, man. I really appreciate you being on the podcast. Thank you so much.
You betcha. Thank you for having me, Josh.
It was awesome, man. I went on Instagram and I messaged him. I said, "Hey, man, we do this out of Comedy Off Broadway. You into it?" And he's like, "Fuck yeah!" And I love that. I was like, "This guy's all right." He said, "Fuck yeah, that's cool."
Well, I thought you were someone else when you messaged me.
I was waiting for that.
But no, this has been such a joy, brother.
Awesome, man. I appreciate it. All right, man. Well, for JP Sears, I'm Josh Sardam. We'll see you guys next time.
Hey guys, I hope you liked the video, and if you like the show, make sure you throw a like down there somewhere. There should be a like, and there's a subscribe button over here.
And hit the bell.
Yeah, ring the bell, and check us out, man. Stay in touch with us. We're always putting out videos every week, and it should be a lot of fun, right?
Right as a letter.
Yeah, right as rain. Right as a man. Thanks, guys. Man, that should work.
The end of our days, setting up sound systems with bass for your face. Console shooting out frequency, full of loops and beats and symmetry. The room's getting filled with
chemistry. Oh, let it be, do you see all the energy? So we keep on moving at a rock steady pace. Know you're gonna want it if you have a little taste. Loosen up your neck and your back and your waist. Feel yourself lift as you float into space. Twisting your mind so quickly, sonically and telepathically. We're kissing goodbye to the gravity. Oh, let it be, do you feel all the energy? I said, ooh, if I only ever knew I'm trapped in my mind and trapped in the zoo. Ooh, if I only ever knew. So are you. Ooh, if we only ever knew we're trapped in our minds and trapped in the zoo. Ooh, if we only ever knew. Western youth be in trouble cause them not playing rough. So I try to start a fire with a rhythm that's tough. We need a revolution but we can't get enough of YouTube, Facebook, Instagram and that stuff. We need more social activity, physically in this reality. There's too much digital calamity. Oh, let us be what we need for prosperity. But we keep on using up more than we need, and we build on slavery, power and greed. And I weep every time that I watch TV. So I focus on my Jing and my Shen and my Chi. Soaking up pure infinity, Kundalini Shakti for energy. We're kissing goodbye to negativity. Oh, let it be just free your mentality. I said, ooh, if I only ever knew I'm trapped in my mind and trapped in the zoo. Ooh, if I only ever knew. And so are you. Ooh, if we only ever knew we're trapped in our minds and trapped in the zoo. Ooh, if we only ever knew. We are all chosen, and we are all golden. We are all chosen. We are all golden, right? We are all chosen. We are all golden, alright. We are all chosen, you know. We are all golden. One more time. We are all chosen.